All right, we're all here. All the beefs in the barn. Go, Gogs, go.
Welcome to Movie the Podcast. That's right. Movie the Podcast is the last week, I think, yes, of Lewis
Yeah.
Gossett. We might have one more. Do we have one more?
No,
Even better, July.
I don't think so. Do we?
Next week is
Grab
still
bag.
July, I think. It's grab bag.
I think it
Grab
is the
bag.
31st. Yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
Well, can Lewis Gossett Jr. snatch victory from the jaws of mediocrity, or is he the world's most averagest actor? Answers to this and more on today's episode of Movie the Podcast.
Oh, I like the
wow.
the premise there. That's good. You got a little stinger there,
Little
like
teaser.
that's
keep
good. That's
keep the
good.
butts in the seats.
Yeah, I like that. Good. Now you're gonna have to do that every week, guys. That's not bad.
That's fine. I'll just call back to it.
Yeah. Hi, we got Alec back. Alec
Yep.
just came back
From Paradise.
Y'all may as well pack it in if you had any movies to talk about.
I have like six actually, so I'll just.
my
I
God.
watched one.
Yeah, I watched one thing. So, well, without any further ado, Alec, what did you watch, buddy?
I watched, and remember, there's two 12-hour flights involved here.
Oh fuck!
I
Yeah, that's
watched
rough.
12 movies.
Holy
Oh man,
Okay, that tracks.
you watched Tetsuo the Iron Man 12 times.
Yeah. I watched 12 movies and most of a TV show. Hang on, I'm doing a little math here real quick. Today's the 24th, right?
That's
Mhm.
correct.
Yeah, I gotta update my episode number. So here's the movies, and some of these I've talked about before, and they were just rewatches because they were like whatever Southwest on-demand thing on their planes is that you can get on your phone. I watched Ocean's 11. That movie's great. I watched Ready Player One. That movie's great.
shit!
I watched Encanto again. That movie's great. Lilo and Stitch is really good. It was the first time I ever saw Lilo
Oh, I
and
love
Stitch.
that movie.
That's a
That
good
movie's
movie.
that movie's tremendous. That's like, as far as I'm concerned, like upper tier pre CGI Disney.
I
Like,
don't
that
know
movie's
their
that
last-
movie's outstanding.
Yeah,
Their
I
last
was just
hand
about to
animated
ask.
movie for a while
Yeah.
or ever.
I'd only recently watched it for the first time, like in the last year or two with my kids, because it's got so much hype. It's got all sorts of like sidequels and like sequels and stuff. I always wondered what it was about, and I watched it. And I was like, this is a really good movie. It's a lot of fun.
And the little girl's fucking weird and are taking pictures of fat people at the beach. Like it's a cool movie. Like it's very
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, it's excellent. I was very very impressed with it.
I saw it in the theater as a grown man, like a child predator does.
That's okay. You just got to go in the middle of the day.
A bag of candy and rags soaked with chloroform.
This has nothing to do with anything, and I'm sure we can drag it out a little bit more. But I used to go to a gym that was next to a Chuck E. Cheese, so me and my buddy would go there and then go to Chuck E. Cheese because they had that salad bar as like two grown, sweaty men with no children.
Hold on. They had a salad bar at Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah.
I thought
I
they
don't
wouldn't let
remember.
you in a Chuck E. Cheese without a kid.
Well, I guess there's no law against it, so it's like Air Bud rules.
Wild.
Yeah.
Nobody says a dog can't play basketball.
Right.
I watched. We'll get a couple of these dregs out of the way real quick before I get into the meat of the things that are actually to talk about. The movie Tag,
Oh yeah.
where the people play tag like into their 50s.
Yeah, I barely remember that movie.
Is
I
it
think
as
I
bad
saw
a concept as it sounds?
Isn't
It was-
it's
it was-
Hawkeye is in it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hawkeye, Ed Helms, John Hamm, Hannibal Buress, Isla Fisher, someone else. I'm missing another main character.
Mhm.
Yep.
It was not great. It wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. It was perfectly cromulent way to spend half of my flight from Baltimore to Phoenix.
Is it like a sexy sister film to like Date Night or whatever? It feels like it came out right around the same time as all those movies.
It's not a Date Night. Which one's Date Night?
Is that
Steve
Steve Carell?
Steve
and,
Carell,
like-
Tina
Carell
Fey.
and Tina Fey.
I love that movie.
It's closer to that vein. It's more safe like that. Unlike Game Night,
Game
where
Night,
Game
yeah.
Night got a lot darker than I expected. Even though I actually really liked Game Night. Date Night, I barely remember, but it's probably closer to that.
Yeah.
Like pushing the envelope comedies for adults that are still sanitized and pretty safe. That was okay. I watched The Incredible Burt Wonderstone. That was fucking trash.
What the hell is that?
I don't even
This
remember that movie.
It's got Steve Carell and Steve Buscemi are like Vegas
they're like
magicians.
magicians. That's
Oof.
yeah.
It is real bad. Jim Carrey is their like Chris Angel-esque nemesis.
Doesn't he get like shot in the head or something?
He drills himself in the head with a drill to prove that, like, it's absurd. It's not good. It was better than I expected, but still not good. Watch Caddyshack. That's the first time I've ever seen Caddyshack, like beginning to end in one sitting.
Really?
Not impressed.
Wow.
It is very overrated.
It is very much a product of its time, and it is not great. Like I'm glad Harold Ramis kind of fine-tuned some things before he made Ghostbusters. Or no, he didn't make Ghostbusters, did he? Ivan Reitman did.
Ivan Reitman.
I think Harold Ramis wrote it.
Ghostbusters, though, didn't he?
He wrote it. I think he did. Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis wrote it. Ivan Reitman directed it.
Oh, Harold Ramis directed Caddyshack, and it's not great. It's just like it's barely got a plot holding it together, and it's just a bunch of scenes that happen and like random stupid shit, like every early '80s, late '70s comedy.
It's kind of like a Monty Python, like a Life of Brian or a Now for Something Completely Different, more than it is like a real movie. I'll give you that.
But it's like not absurd to the level that they are, where like you can tell they're like that's what their goal is the whole time. Like it's like, hey, let's have a scene where all the caddies go to the pool and ruin the rich people's pool for 20 minutes, but it's out of nowhere. And like it's not prefaced by anything, and it's not brought up again. It's like, yeah, let's just do this. I was not impressed.
I don't think I can look at that.
It did make me wish that Chevy Chase wasn't a fucking asshole and everybody in Hollywood didn't hate him, so he would get more stuff because he's so fucking good. He's so funny. Everybody just hates him so much that nobody wants to work with him.
Yeah, I don't think I can look at that movie objectively. I think I love Caddyshack too much, but you're right. It is kind of very loosely held together.
Yeah. And the main character is shit. I couldn't
Danny
even
Noonan? Yeah, I don't think he's ever in anything else.
I looked up his IMDb last night. He's got like 150 acting credits. I couldn't pick him out of a fucking lineup in anything else I've seen.
Wow.
I want to say he's a deadbeat dad in something, but I can't replace what it is. I've seen him like older. Anyway, I watched Now You See Me. That movie's not great.
Is that
love magic?
That's a magician bank robber movie.
It's a heist movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's a movie where at the end
Hayden
actual
Christensen
magic comes into it. Correct? Like
I don't like. No, I think TJ said that before. No, there's not like.
No, I thought that's in the sequel. Not in the first one.
Does this have Hayden Christensen in it?
No, you're thinking of Jumper. I think that's the only other movie I know Hayden Christensen was in aside from Star Wars.
Okay.
It's got Lex Luthor and Isla Fisher and Woody Harrelson and the little Franco brother.
Okay.
They're all like different sorts of magicians, and then somebody gets them all together to create a huge magic show and pull off like a huge heist. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it though. The premise is very thin. But it wasn't awful. It was probably more based on the performances than the premise and the plot. Because everybody's pretty good in it. Jesse Eisenberg, that's his name.
Yep.
Yeah.
So down to the final four. I watched Thor 4 again.
On a plane?
No, we watched that in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
We're trying to get out of the house.
how was that version?
One night.
How was the Hawaii version?
A lot more Samoans than the other
Nice.
one. No, I enjoy that movie. I think it's really good, and upon reviewing, like I really, really loved it. Like I think
Okay.
the second time I liked it a little better.
Okay.
And I really liked it the first time. It's a lot of fun. And when you watch it again, knowing that the whole movie, literally from beginning to end, is all told through Korg's eyes, it kind of frames the whole thing slightly differently. And all the weird stuff that kind of doesn't make sense initially, or like you're kind of like, well, that's weird, makes a little more sense because he's telling it all third person from his point of view.
Right.
But also, like, apparently it was 2.5 hours, and the studio demanded that Taika Waititi cut out a half hour.
Yeah,
which
apparently-
That's crazy
That
because
seems
every
nuts.
other goddamn movie is fucking 2.5 hours long. Like,
apparently
Yes.
Jeff Goldblum was supposed to be back in this, and it got on the cutting room floor, and like I saw some articles, like a couple other scenes that I was like, oh, I would have liked to see
yeah,
that.
like Spider-Man was 3 hours long. Doctor Strange was 2.5, I believe, at least. Like, you're not going to give one of your most well-received movies
Also,
sequel.
I wonder if having that extra stuff that got made the cutter, I wonder if it would have helped the tonal problems that I had in that movie. Like because that was my biggest complaint. And now a lot of the scenes like didn't really feel like they had time to breathe. Like everything kind of moved a little too fast. And I wonder if you added that extra half an hour or whatever, it would have changed my opinion on that. You know,
I'm betting it would have, and like I'd love to see
probably.
I'd love to see a director's cut of it once they release it with the deleted scenes. See somebody like stitch it all together. I watched Hustle.
I watched that. Yeah.
The Adam Sandler basketball Netflix movie. That movie is outstanding.
He's really good when you put him in front of basketball content, isn't he?
Yeah, like I don't know if that's what it has to do with, or that he's just like being serious and taking his role seriously. But that movie is outstanding. He is excellent in it. I would probably put his performance, although it's tonally different, on par with his performance in Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
Like he's not as like harebrained and like wild, but he's a lot more understated and kind of beat down. But I would say it's an equally excellent performance. Juancho Hernan Gomez, who plays the basketball player, is like, he has no right being this good of an actor for being an NBA player. Like you already got enough, man. You don't need to be a great actor too. He's very good at it. There's tons of like young NBA players and some older ones too. A lot of young guys that have been drafted in the past few years are in it, and they're all fine. They're just playing basketball. Sean, you'll appreciate this. One of the most surprising performances in the movie is Kenny the Jet Smith is outstanding.
Oh, yeah?
He plays like not an agent, I don't think he's supposed to be, but kind of like almost like a fixer. Like he's setting up games for like the guys who want to go pro but aren't quite.
Okay.
And like,
He's doing like showcase stuff.
exactly.
Like,
and he's like trying,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like he has ends at the combine where he can get people into the NBA combine, and he is tremendous in this movie. Like he's a really good actor. I was shocked at all his scenes when he was good. Ben Foster's in it, and he's just such a fucking ass. He's so good at being an asshole. He's just such an asshole. He's so easy to hate. But I loved it. I thought it was really good. I have everybody give that a watch at some point. I watched The Batman.
Ooh,
Is
you
this your
haven't seen
first
that
viewing
yet.
of that?
Still haven't seen it.
Yeah, my first viewing of it. I thought it was good, not great. It's way too long.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason that movie needed to be 3 hours
Yep.
long.
Marlon
Robert
Humphrey had a really
Pattinson-
funny review of it.
About the Batman. Oh, are you?
Sean,
I'm
you're breaking up a little,
or-
bro.
Okay, it's Sean.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't remember it exactly, but it's like you gotta walk around so slow everywhere and turn some lights on or some shit like that. It's like I fell asleep 3 times.
Yeah, it was just like, if you cut that movie down a little bit, I probably would have liked it a lot more. I thought Pattinson was good. not great. Zoe Kravitz was excellent. John Turturro and what was it? Jeffrey
Colin
Wright
Farrell.
too. Colin Farrell. Like everybody's good in it. It's just really it's too long and too dark. Like I agree with Marlon Humphrey. Me and Marlo, we got the same opinion on the Batman. Trim that shit down a little bit, Matt Reeves. And thanks for bringing in our fifth Batman in like 10 years, and then we got like our fifth Joker in 10 years also getting ready to come out.
Yeah.
And the last movie I watched, which I fell asleep during, but I woke back up and rewound it to make sure I got everything, was Dunk. You guys might know it as
Dunk.
Dune.
Oh, you
Oh.
watched Dune. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the Al Pacino movie.
I'm interested
Yeah,
to
it was
hear
the
this.
Al Pacino biopic, Dunk.
Kids from 7 to 17.
It's not Al anymore. It's Dunk.
I just love the shot of him after that, like, oh no, you got to throw this
Yeah.
away. This is terrible.
It was the best part of that movie, and it was like during the credits.
Dune, I liked it a lot. I thought it was very good.
Wow.
I've never read the books. Like I've never had any interest in reading those books, but I thought it was good. There's little things like I didn't understand, but I got it later through context. But
Right.
like stuff was happening that like at the time I didn't get. But everybody's really good in it. Like Jason Momoa.
Yeah, he's
Like
surprisingly
it might be his like best role. Like he's so good.
It took me a while to deal with him not having the beard in the movie, though. Like, it's just like this is awkward for me.
Yeah, he has had it pretty much everything, I guess.
Yeah.
He's really good. I'm drawing a blank on the main character's name.
Chalamet, Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
Chalamet, yeah.
He's good. Zendaya is good in like the 3 minutes she's in it.
Yeah, it's really disproportionate how much she showed up in the ads versus how much she's really in that movie.
Yeah, she just shows up for maybe the last like 20 minutes of a 3-hour movie.
I think she's going to be in the second one a lot more.
And yeah, I know there's going to be a sequel, so I would assume she would be in that one more. Oscar Isaacs, I mean, he's just great in everything.
Yeah, he's a machine.
Everything he does, he's tremendous in. But yeah, I really liked it a lot. I'm excited to see
Very nice.
see the next one when it comes out, which is not for like another year or two.
I think.
Yeah, I think.
This is interesting
Yeah,
though, because I was curious because most people I talked to about that movie are like deep in the lore, so I was curious to see like what I thought they did a pretty good job, like telling the story for people that weren't familiar with the lore. So it's nice. It's nice to hear that. You know, someone who's not
I think it's
deep in it.
It was probably, I would compare it. Obviously, it's like a higher quality, but like the original Iron Man movie, like if you're deep into it and know a lot about it, like there's probably a lot of good stuff for you to sink your teeth into. But also, it's accessible where if you don't know anything about it, like I didn't, you can still enjoy it for what it is.
That's great.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I was very I don't know if impressed is the word, because like I figured it would be pretty good, but it was better than I expected, because I did not expect to like a space western on a sand planet.
One of us.
Yeah, Dune's great. Read the books; they're fantastic.
I ain't read no books. I already got to watch.
What is wrong with you?
I already got to watch movies for this podcast. You think I'm reading books for it too?
Yeah.
Dude, tune into Book the Podcast.
Pages the podcast.
God.
Analog movies for pages.
We are one episode away from finishing season 3 of the Umbrella Academy, and it is outstanding. Like,
Let's keep it here, because that book is not great.
Umbrella Academy?
Yeah, like I really like the first season of the show, but I read the comic book, and it kind of sucks.
Yeah, I read that first trade, TJ let me borrow, and it was not super.
It's fine. Yeah, I
The
like
changes, all the changes they've made have been positive. But depending on how this season wraps up, like I would say this is the best season so far. Still going to see how they wrap it all up, but if it holds up with the rest of the season how it's been, it's easily going to be the best one. It's so good. It's so good, and like that kid that plays 5 from the first one, like he's aged well, and he's still a handsome little guy, and he's still a really good actor, which is good because you never know how that's gonna.
Yeah,
you never know how that's gonna go when you cast him when he's like 13.
Yeah, you don't want to end up in a 2.5 Men situation.
Yeah. Ugh. But that's all I watched. That's the 12 things I watched.
And now you can make the perfect mutant, or whatever the fuck was the plot of that.
Oh God, yeah. Anything else, Al? Who passed?
No, I'd say I forgot already. Gogs.
So I also watched a lot of things, but I'll be very brief. 3 of the things I watched with my children. I watched the entire oeuvre of the Disney made for like the Disney Channel teen movies Zombies 2 and Zombies 3.
He told me about this yesterday. It sounded ridiculous.
Like it is just the worst like teen pop punk. We're gonna do it forever. Shoulder shuffle. Every other song's about how much victory it is. It is bad. But I did realize that through either TikTok or Reddit or whatever, I don't know if you guys seen like these ultra cringy things of people like talking about how like they're the head of the pack, they're wolves, we run the night, like, you know, we're the leader, we're the alpha, blah blah blah. It's like a sing-song thing. That's from this movie. I was like, oh, that's terrible. So those 3 things. My kids, of course, love them. Like they're singing along, they are dancing, there's full-blown choreography happening in my living room. So I'll have to deal with that in therapy later.
So will they.
Yeah. So then I got, I need to feel better about myself. So I started watching a bunch of, now I can't think of his name. Doesn't matter. I watched Prince of Darkness, and I also watched In the Maw of Madness. John Carpenter. Thank you so much. I got zombies on the brain. I had never seen either of those, it turns out, before. And they're both really, really good. Sam Neill in The Maw of Madness, or In the Mouth of Madness, excuse me.
The Mall. In the Mall of Madness.
In the Mall of Madness. Wasn't Mall Madness a board game from the 90s, I think?
All Madness, yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. They gave you a credit card.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was awesome.
But in the Mouth of Madness, very Lovecraftian, very Alan Wake. Really enjoy. Sam Neill is like great in it. It's like haunting and fun. The guy, I never know his name, but he's the patriarch of the rival brewery from Beer Fest.
Oh, I don't know his name either, but I know exactly who you mean.
Yeah, he plays Sutter Kane, the author, who's like horrors are coming to life. It's fucking great. Prince of Darkness, I'd never seen that, but it's got it's got
that actor you're talking about, Gogs, is in the original Dune, and he plays the Oscar Isaac character.
That's right. He's Atreides. He's Leto Atreides. Yeah. That's right.
I can't think of his name either,
but Prince of Darkness, that movie's kind of wild. It's got Alice Cooper in it. It's got what's his name from? It's got 2 of the actors from Big Trouble in Little China. It's got Egg Shen and the guy who owns the Black Pool. Oh, I can't think of his name. But it's interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but it's this kind of cool movie about, you know, what would a bunch of physicists and metaphysicists and like learned scholars do to kind of crack the code of maybe Satan in a jar in the bottom of a church. It's pretty cool. And then,
actually is the only John Carpenter movie I haven't seen, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, it's cool. It's on, both of those are on Shudder. And then I watched, the last thing I watched, I think TJ saw, and I think
Jurgen Prochnow is the guy's name, by the way.
There it is.
Oh.
I think TJ was lukewarm on it, or maybe he didn't like it, but the new Candyman movie.
I didn't like it at all. I
That was
wasn't
it.
lukewarm. I thought it was terrible.
Okay. I didn't hate it, but I do think that it needed to like it was kind of incoherent. God, it's
Yeah,
hard to say. It was hard to say I
it's a,
didn't hate it, but it was incoherent. But
it's
it
a
was kind of
fucking
like
mess.
it
And then
is.
like the end of the movie, like things ramp up, and you're like, wait, what the fuck is even going on?
Yeah, like
And
the
then
way the button on the whole movie doesn't really track with
doesn't
like
make any
where the movie
fucking
was leading
sense.
up to. Like
Yeah,
visually, it's cool though. And
yeah,
the
it has
guy,
some cool visual.
like Yaya, whatever his name is, who plays the main character, I liked him in it. I liked was
I
there-
wish that guy would make better decisions on the movies he takes because he's
Yeah,
such a
right.
good actor.
He's a great actor.
But like
And
everything,
he's got a huge penis.
I've only seen him, I believe, in Watchmen. But like everything else he's made, everybody's got like terrible reviews.
yeah, he's Morpheus
Yeah, he
in
was.
the new
He's
Matrix.
Morpheus. He was the villain in Aquaman, in the Aquaman movie. Black Manta. Is that the name of that character?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was before Watchmen, so I didn't realize it was him. I liked Aquaman though.
Yeah, it's fun.
But like, I don't know. I didn't hate Candyman, but it did, the ending and the front half and the back half didn't gel. Like it didn't where it ended up. It didn't seem. I don't know how it got there. But like the visuals were cool, the gore was cool, the kills were cool. The young lady who plays what's her name, Rambo from WandaVision, she was great in it.
Did you like the scene where the shitty art gallery owner guy is getting murdered, and he's like, "What's up with this?" And fuck that! Like it's like totally reacting how you would if somebody gets murdered in front of you.
Well, the part was like,
God.
"Is this real?" Like, what? I do like the fact that it was like a send up of like art morons because that is nice. But like it was, I don't know.
It's literally like the Marvelication of like horror movie dialogue. It's like, well, that just happened. Like what?
Yeah, but I mean, like
Stop.
not for nothing. I don't remember I remember liking the original Candyman, but I don't remember it being like a real tour de force from an acting standpoint.
The original Candyman fucking rocks, and it beats the shit out of the new one. Go back and watch it. It's very.
I'm sure it does. I'm not saying this one's like. I'm not saying this one's better. I'm saying I didn't hate
good
this
movie.
Yeah.
So what?
I said the first Candyman's a certified good ass movie.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah,
But
I watched it like 2 years ago. It's really good.
Yeah.
Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen, I
Is
believe.
that who plays
Yeah.
her?
And Brad Dorff in a non-Chucky role, or not? Is it Brad? What's
Dorff?
Yeah. No, fuck. Chris Sarandon.
Oh,
Is the detective, the guy that played Al Pacino's girlfriend in fucking Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog Day Afternoon.
yeah. Prince Humperdinck or whatever his name is from.
Yep, Prince Humperdinck.
Yep.
Close.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't hate Candyman, but it was a bit of a mess. So those are all the things I watched. 2 good things, 1 okay thing, and then 3 terrible musicals. Sean.
I just watched Beavis and Butthead do the universe.
How was that?
it?
It was a lot of fun. It was Beavis and Butthead, and like it was like unashamedly Beavis and Butthead, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like they just transport them, by cosmic accident into the present day, but like he doesn't spend the whole time going like, "Oh, this is weird." There's a scene where they go to college and like the feminist professor's like, "You guys have white privilege." They explain it to them. He's like, "Oh, cool!" Like, and then they just go out and start taking shit everywhere. It's like, "Hey, they told us we got white privilege," and they start stealing everything. It's just like, but they're so innocent about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like meant as like a commentary on wokeness.
Right.
It's just like, oh, they're just dumb. Like, so they just. And there's something about Beavis when he reacts to things like not like Beavis, or he's just like, oh, well, that's very interesting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's really dry reactions that fucking make me laugh all the time. But like, it starts off with, it just opens with Butthead kicking Beavis in the dick, like nonstop at a science fair. And they're like, is your science fair project? They're like, what's science fair?
I need to watch it.
It's like they walk by they go to space camp and they walk by the Johnson Space Center, just like it said Johnson. Like, I mean, it was like very comforting, like it was just fun. It was fun to watch. They do some multiverse shit. There's like smart Beavis and smart Butthead. They're like watchers. It's a lot of fun. I am like, unashamedly a fan of Mike Judge movies. I think full stop. Like I don't think he's ever made a movie I didn't like, at least a little bit. Like I really like Extract a lot. It's not a movie that's talked about very often, but so but that was it. And then I watched like 6 hours of Vanity Fair linguist explains why accents are bad in movies. It's like, those video series they do, like they have one where Scott Adkins breaks down fight scenes.
Oh, I love those.
Well, this is a guy who's like a dialect coach, and all he does is like explain why like these accents work or don't work in movies. It's actually like really interesting because I know we always end up talking. Well, I was thinking about it because I was watching a lot of Andrew Tate videos this week.
Dude, what is up with his accent? Like,
yeah, that's
so weird.
Because he's American,
right?
but he like lives. He's American, but he did all his fighting in like Great Britain. But he's currently like a casino boss and chauvinist in Romania.
Yeah, he's hiding from like police in Romania.
Yeah,
yeah,
and so that was something. But I recommend Beavis and Butthead. If you like Beavis and Butthead, you will like this. So, TJ.
I watched one thing. It was also on Shudder. It's the Gwar documentary called We Are Gwar, or This Is Gwar. I already forgot the title. It's great. If you like Gwar, it's a very good overview of their entire history, how they got started. It's actually not like I kind of thought. Two of the original members of Gwar passed away. And unfortunately, it was like one right after the other. The original guitar player, well, he's like the second or third guitar player, but he's been with the band forever. He died, and then Dave Brockie, the lead singer, Odorous, he passed away. And I kind of thought that the whole documentary was going to end up being about Odorous because he's kind of like the most visible, like the most well-known of the band. But it's really not. It's about the whole band, how they started, like, pretty interesting how they even got together because they were all like these art school kids in Virginia, in Richmond, Virginia. And it's kind of wild. They talk about like some clashes, like creative clashes in the band because like kind of the original guy that had the idea for what turned into Gwar was this kind of weirdo artist that wanted to make like comic books. And basically what happened was like, a bunch of the guys in Gwar were in this other punk band, and they were friends with this guy, and they liked the idea, and they kind of ran with it. So kind of like a subplot of the documentary is kind of about, at what point does your creation, at what point is your creation not really your creation anymore, and it's like a collaborative thing. But it's really good. It's full of a lot of great like concert footage from Gwar. It's kind of sad at the. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I didn't even know Gwar was a real band because of Empire Records was the first time I was aware of them. And I was like,
they talk about that. Yeah, they talk about that, how like Beavis and Butthead was like a huge break for them because they couldn't get airtime on MTV, and Mike Judge was a huge Gwar fan. So that's why like their Beavis and Butthead's favorite band was Gwar. A plot of the Beavis and Butthead Sega Genesis game is literally getting Gwar tickets, which was like huge for the band.
What was their loser friend's name?
Stewart. No,
Stewart, who was wore the winger shirt.
Yeah. But yeah, the Gwar This Is Gwar documentary is fantastic. It's yet another triumph on Shudder, which continues to be like the best streaming service, like hands down. All their original stuff is so great. This is like really well made. It'll definitely, there's a few like crazy Gwar stories that happened. One where they literally were almost robbed outside of a concert venue. They didn't know what to do, so they literally just like drove away. The guy shot at them and hit the one guy literally right under his heart, and he almost dies.
God.
It's fucking wild. The fucking guitar player that got shot, he ended up touring with a fucking colostomy bag. He had to get like parts of his colon removed, and the guy was touring with his fucking colostomy bag. They show footage of him literally with it like on the side of his body. But it's great. It's funny. It's definitely sad when they get into like, how long the band has been around, and now that like a few of them have passed away, and they're still like going after it, and like it gets a little emotional. Like the one guy had like a real bad cancer scare, and I don't know. But overall, it was a very good movie. Like especially like if you like rock and roll documentaries, which I'm always a big fan of. Like this was a very, very well made, well put together documentary. I highly recommend it. So yeah, that's all I watched. I also rewatched Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a fucking masterpiece. But we've already talked about that movie. So yeah, that's all I watched. So that's everybody, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about Midnight Sting. AKA Diggstown. Gogs, what happened in Diggstown?
Okay. Movie opens, and we're in prison. We're watching two dudes fight each other.
yeah.
One of them's the biker from the apocalypse, and the other one's just some guy.
Yeah,
Shit, that's where I knew that guy from.
Yep.
Yeah, fuck, I couldn't place him. Shit.
So these two are wailing on each other, I guess,
as you do in prison.
As I guess as some sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Subterfuge, distraction, so that James Woods
you watched
start
Undisputed.
Yeah, we've watched, I think, most Undisputed movies.
Yeah, but I mean, like in this particular case, James Woods is like whilst this fight is happening, he is coyoteing people out of prison and has been doing so since he's gotten to this prison. And he's been, I guess, shipping money out of the prison to set up his elaborate scheme later through these people, I guess. Anyway, he's out in like 2 weeks. And the guy who was Watto or whatever from Total Recall is like cleaning his gun and being like, hey, prick, I don't like you. And James Woods like, I'm an asshole, so no one gives a shit. And then he leaves, and then James Woods gets blown as he's driven away from the prison. And the guy whose wife was RUNNOFT'd from Oh Brother Where Art Thou was like, hell yeah. So now, the entire time, Oliver Platt is in the town of Diggstown, which has been named after Vigo the Carpathian when he was an amazing boxer.
Charles Macon Diggs.
Charles Macon Diggs.
Too. Damn, I didn't. Man, I could not place any of these actors in this movie.
So yeah, Charles Macon Diggs, who's just like a vegetable, invented this town based on boxing, and now Oliver Platt's here to run game on poker and then pool and all sorts of other stuff.
Industry is gambling, correct? Like,
correct.
Minus a casino, like
right.
Everybody just loves betting on shit.
And then Bruce Bricktop Dern is in charge of, I guess, the entire situation.
I love that scene with Oliver Platt because they're like trying to hustle him, and he's like, "I'm gonna beat you all."
Yeah, he's telling them outright.
I'm gonna beat you. And they're like, well, we'll wager this. Well, I'll take that then. I'm gonna beat you. He doesn't like slow play him or anything. He's just like, I'm gonna kick your ass, and they just keep raising the stakes.
I was waiting for him to fall on that one. Like I was waiting for him to like lose his shirt. Like he wasn't even like trying to. So here's the thing. This movie's all about cons that don't actually have a con involved. Like everyone ends up delivering at the end of the day. Yeah. So it's like, where's the con?
Well, that's also the problem with the whole movie, right? Because it's like, that's to jump to the end, but it's like Bruce Dern's like, I just lost the whole town. It's like, you're going to go with that? You're going to be like, well, I guess I'll live up to my side of the bargain now.
You just murdered presumably 2 people to get here? Well, we'll get there. So Oliver Platt stumbles out with the keys to a new Corvette that was owned ever so briefly from the oldest son of the neighbor in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And then and Jim Caviezel's in this as well.
Yeah, that was Jim Caviezel. Yeah,
that poor kid has like a weird face.
He does have a weird face.
Like he's not ugly, but it's like a weird look at like almost it's like a weird mix between baby and adult.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And I remember thinking that when Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, even though I didn't place him from that movie.
Also,
so you just said that.
One of the 2 brothers is from Gogs' favorite movies, Alex Mack from The Program.
Yeah, he's The Program. Yeah, he's not ladder. He's ladder's boy. He's like, all I gotta know is to sign my name.
Yeah.
But
he plays Dexter Manley in the movie.
So you end up. So Oliver Platt stumbles out with the pink slips and the money. He goes out to his like the most Let's Go Brandon F-350 you've ever seen in your entire life, and I guess the entire setup that's been cooked up for years in the prison or whatever is then when the biker from the apocalypse gets out of prison and returns to Diggstown, he will be part of this never-ending slew of boxers that Louis Gossett Jr. will eventually beat once the fix is in.
Hey, can I pause you for a second real quick?
Sure.
I'm sorry. How old is Heather Graham, the human being?
She's like a vampire, right?
Right. She looks exactly the same, and she's played up to be like a love interest to James Woods, which no one will know about James Woods.
She plays up as a love interest and the baby sister of the biker of the apocalypse, and then she could not care less that her brother was delivered in a coffin, maybe at a train station.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead though and give this movie a little bit of credit because as soon as they introduce Heather Graham, I'm like, oh, she's gonna fuck James Woods, and that never happens. Thank God.
No,
because I looked it up. James Wood is 30 years younger than James Woods.
Well, again, we're talking about James Woods here,
and that guy's a piece of shit. I wonder if that's tainting my vision. I couldn't watch this without hating James Woods.
Well, his character is kind of a piece of shit.
Oh, but I mean, I hate him as a human being, so I can't even give him the benefit of the doubt.
He says snowflake, referring to something in the movie earlier, and then he's like, "Oh, you gotta love liberals."
Gotta love the liberals because that's how he got out of prison earlier. He had to go to Ponytail Jones Mancini to back the fucking bets that he's going to make on some weird 10-1 odds situation that he's already pre-worked out with Bruce Dern or something. So the whole movie pivots on the idea that James Woods is going to talk Bruce Dern into a 1v10 situation with James Woods fighter taking on 10 of Diggstown's finest for a sum of $10,000. He's putting up $100K to win $10K. And then there's a series of side bets and parlays that end up like making it all happen. And then he's like, I don't even have my fighter yet. So then he goes to see Louis Gossett Jr., who's living in, I don't know, some slum somewhere.
He
comes out of retirement, shaves his head, and maybe does a couple of push-ups for 2 weeks because that's all they have to set this up.
Yeah, first of all, like, I can't deal with his hair at the beginning of this movie, so I'm glad they shaved it because it was fucking killing
He had a Friar
me.
Tuck situation. I did not care for it.
It was bad. And he's like, I don't know how much money he's made prior to, but like he's living in this like beautiful house in Texas as a YMCA part-time rec boxing coach? Question mark.
Who's got a record of like 35 and like 0 or something with 31 knockouts?
He's lost twice to the same guy, remember?
That's right. Yeah, Hammerhead Hawkins or whatever.
Honey Roy Palmer.
Honey Roy Palmer. So Honey Roy Palmer is the man who's like he's the best. He's the better make him bacon Diggs or whatever. And
but he never got a chance. But like that's never like explained.
But that's not really even it's not even part of the point. Like the part of the point is to like win the town through boxing. So
from what I gathered, like he didn't really care they didn't get a chance because him and James Woods were hustling people. He was making more money hustling than in actually boxing.
Than being heavyweight champion of the world in 1980. You know what I mean? Like back when boxing was the fucking tits. Like. Also, important to note for the plot of this movie that Louis Gossett Jr. is like 58 years old.
Yeah,
like,
and his tits are sagging in this thing.
He looks like shit.
He looks like Damon Wayans in The Great White Hype. Like he just didn't bother showing up.
No, it's fucking yeah.
So anyway, they've got 2 weeks to get this fight together, and it's 2 weeks of like splitting wood and doing push-ups and recruiting fighters, and they have enough time to make funeral fans that say 10-1 Diggstown Bangaroo on them because people are fanning themselves with it later. And then the second half of this movie is just like you mentioned. Go ahead.
Did you mention that Charles Mick and Whoopi was they gave him amyl nitrate or some shit in the middle of
yeah.
He wouldn't take the fall. He wouldn't play rule by Bruce Dern's rules. So Bruce Dern like brained him via nasal spray, and now he's just a vegetable who just sort of sits in the rafters and smiles. This,
like, is not like a plot point that amounts to literally anything.
It means nothing.
Yeah.
Like the only guy in town who didn't lose their everyone. So apparently there was a big fix back in the day where everyone bet on Diggs except Bruce Dern. And then Bruce Dern basically cleaned house and took everyone's money and houses. And let me tell you how towns work. If that were to happen, they would just kill him.
Yeah.
And just keep their house. That's what I would do.
Especially because they've already killed 4 less
In Texas in the 80s, I'm just going to take and kill you.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. I feel like this is based off a novel that says in the beginning of the movie. I feel like
they
this
cut
is
based
more
off a
racism out of it.
Like, there's no way this is a
What's
novel.
that? The racism?
Do you feel like they cut more racism out of it? Because
I do.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is I think this movie works better if it's set in, like, I don't know, like turn of the century.
Post-apartheid
like
South Africa.
Well, I just mean, like, I don't know, like, a lot of the stuff they talk about, like, it just seems like it'd work better in, like, the old times. Like, I don't know, I used to hear about stories of, like, fighters going 120 rounds in, like, 1906 and stuff like that. Like, it seemed more of a...
What's Conan's character, fighting Jack Johnson? He was like 140-0 until they let black guys box.
Oh, that's a plot point in this, too. There's a pep talk where James Woods just tells Louis Gossett Jr. he's black, and that's supposed to do it for him.
I want to say that was in the commercial.
There's a surprise.
It's a Roots thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
N-word in this movie.
There's surprisingly less N-words than you would expect.
Yeah,
that N-word was telegraphed an hour ago.
There's a lot of Bruce Dern doing the boy thing, but
So all these 10,
get it.
So we got these 10 fighters, and they're all being like coerced into like double crossing or triple crossing or whatever. And you got these 2 brothers who are paid off by the quote unquote good guys in the movie. And the one dude gets legitimately hung in the back of this place by Bruce Dern. The fight montage, which is the second half of this movie, is the most tonally mismatched, like, gobbledygook you've ever seen. It's like, is this a slapstick comedy?
Yeah.
Or is this a dark, sinister film? Because Bruce Dern is putting bodies in the ground over this.
Killed at least 2 people in this movie.
Killed 2 people at least.
Well, not only did they hang him, but they also had a sheriff on standby to shoot him just in case the hanging went poorly.
Yeah.
And I guess it's one of those things where, like, if it had taken a hard turn right there and became super dark all the rest of the way through, it would make more sense. But you're right. Like, they're still doing comedy beats.
Like 2 minutes, you have Louis Gossett Jr., like embracing this man's brother, saying, "I'm sorry, this is bad." And the next one he's like, "I don't know if I can. I'm too old for this shit."
Yeah, it's like if the Farrelly brothers made 3 billboards in the second half of the movie.
It's fucking. This movie is a goddamn mess. And in the end, Louis Gossett Jr. So he whips ass through everybody, reluctantly or otherwise. He ends up getting his. There was some caveat in some subclause of Part C of the contract that said whoever was a resident of this county on the day of the deal.
Oh, yeah, there's zoning arguments.
Yeah, there's zoning ordinances in play, but like Hammerhead Hank Hammers or whatever his name is just happened to move in like 2 days prior.
Literally looks like a fucking specimen, right? Like,
dude, it's like if Francis Ngannou wanted to fight Obama. Like, it just shouldn't have worked out. And Louis Gossett Jr. like rallies back to dismantle him. And then in the very end, it's a callback. Oh, at some point, the Hispanic cop from New York Undercover tries to hang James Woods because
I'm glad I'm not the only one that remembered that show.
Because it's like, but for what reason? Because he's winning right now, and the guy who he works for, Ponytail, is fronting the money, and everything's fine.
Well, there's also another weird cameo. I think I might have been the only one that caught this. Maybe Alex. I know Alex is like probably obsessed with ESPN too. You remember when ESPN used to show nothing but kickboxing like all day long? Like,
when it was like the only sport they could get.
Yeah, the referee was Benny the Jet Urquidez, who was like a professional kickboxer. That's why he looks so weird.
Yeah, that guy looked like he was just clipped in from a foreign movie. Like, where did this fella come from? So anyway. So while he's beating his while Louis Gossett Jr. is beating his arch nemesis, he looks to the rafters and locks eyes with Charles Macon Diggs, and he's like, "Yeah, this is for you, person I know nothing about." And then he whips his ass. So then they think they got through all the boxers, but Honey, I Shrunk the Kids forfeited, but didn't really count as a forfeit because never walked into the ring. So then the warden who told James Woods he was going to stick it to him, sticks it to him by bringing the Mexican fellow from the beginning of the movie in the original fight to come in here, but now somehow they get into a fight and James Woods has already worked out with him that this is going to be how it goes down. So he thumbs down and the guy takes a fall and now James Wood presumably owns the town.
Yeah.
Hopefully
This
he's a
movie
better.
sucks.
This movie does not suck. This movie is awesome.
This is a boxing movie for tennis fans. If this is your favorite boxing movie, you're a horrible person. I'm just throwing that out there into the ether. This movie, I was rooting for this movie. I wanted Louis Gossett Jr. to have a good movie this month. He didn't.
So that's the movie.
That's the movie.
I don't know. James Woods, right? Like he's kind of James Woods. Like I don't know, he's kind of good in the role because he's just
good
like
at being
that.
a trash person because he's a trash person.
Weird take. I kind of love this movie, even though it's terrible.
This movie is like the plot is the most convoluted for no reason.
Love it. This movie is fascinating with the rules of their illegal fucking property acquisition boxing thing. Well,
but at the end of the day, none of the fixes that they put in even needed to be fixes. Louis Gossett Jr. is legitimately the greatest boxer of all time.
They send Jim Caviezel up there and don't walk in the ring, and then later it's like, well, that didn't count as a forfeit because he didn't walk in the ring. It's like, is that right? Like, yep, I'm afraid that's the rules. I'm like, you are running an underground, unlicensed,
and you've bodied two people.
Fucking K1 Grand Prix for eminent domain, and we're arguing about what constitutes a forfeit for the NSAC. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's insane.
The hills this movie chooses to die on are strange. And Heather Graham could not give a fuck that her brother was dead.
Her
brother's 50 years older than her.
And she didn't like her brother. That was the one thing they did establish. They didn't
Well, then I guess she got what she wanted. I mean, they don't explicitly say it, but Bruce Dern killed him, right?
The thing I love about this movie is
because he knew too much. That was the whole thing.
Everything is the opposite of Chekhov's gun. They introduce all of this shit and nothing comes back later. Like the whole thing.
Nothing except for the Mexican boxer in the beginning who you don't expect.
And the thumbs down as it comes back.
Yeah. But that's it. Like the whole amyl nitrate thing you think's gonna get brought back up. Like at no point does Bruce Dern, he would in a normal movie, approach Honey Roy Palmer and try to pay him off. Like there's so many what you would think of normal hustles in this movie that they're just nah.
The fact that the man committed 2 murders and just acquiesced to the fact that he lost the bet blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, after his failed attempt to murder everybody in the room, he's just piss on it. I lost. What the fuck is even going on in this movie? This movie is incredibly janky.
Was this the whole plan? They were cooking up this plot in prison? This is the plot they cooked up?
Yeah. Lots of twists and turns. Keep everybody guessing.
I mean, no doubt. Mission accomplished.
You guessing.
I have a question. Who picked up James Woods? Because it's just some woman.
And she blew him.
And then she's never mentioned again in the movie.
No.
Because it cuts back to the prison guard, and it's not even a kiss on the cheek. It was what? What the fuck? What is happening?
The only thing that gets called back is the fact that he tries to neg Bruce Dern over the choice of Mercedes.
He also James Woods is always wearing a suit with no socks, which really bothers me.
That's a cool look, man.
You like that look? That's a good look.
Yeah, he's from Florida. He got those boat shoes and no socks. You don't wear socks with them.
He's yacht rocking, baby. He's yacht rocking.
I'm literally wearing boat shoes with no socks as we speak.
We can't wear boat shoes with socks. It doesn't feel right.
Well, they're not. They're boat shoes. They're meant to get wet, right?
That's why you don't wear socks.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So why don't you understand it, TJ?
What?
Okay. Moving on. I thought James Woods and Lou Gossett Jr. had really good chemistry. they played off each other very well.
I'm gonna say this. This is another movie where Louis Gossett Jr. He's trying real hard.
Well,
he's trying hard in all
I
four
think is
movies.
pretty solid across the board. I love Bruce Dern just in general.
Yeah,
like,
Dern's really good at this.
It's nice to see like crusty old people pop up in movies just in general.
Like Bruce Dern is like still acting, and he was like 1,000,000 years old in this.
Yeah. This is another one of the movies. I think I talked about it when I talked about like The Fugitive or something, where they used to make where it was just all actual adults in the movie, except for Heather Graham, and like you just don't get that anymore.
How old was this movie? Was 92, right?
Something like that.
How old was Heather Graham? Look at how old she was in 92. She was 22. She's born in 70.
Exactly the same as she does in fucking Boogie Nights, and exactly the same as she probably does right this second. Like, it's nuts.
Yep. She's an attractive lady.
She looks great. She's got great cans.
Quality cans.
I also like, I'm a sucker for this, like, I don't want to call it Southern Gothic, but this kind of like sweaty Texas kind of set. You know what I mean?
It's a boom town if they had a mine that made boxers.
Yeah. They have gambling mines.
Yeah.
Also, this is right around. I feel like this is. I kept thinking of Heather Graham in Twin Peaks because she's Annie in Twin Peaks. So the whole time I'm like, "How's Annie? Annie? Anyone?"
I like her Twin Peaks. You know what I'm saying?
Nice. All right, 5 knuckle shuffle time. I think. Alan.
I'm gonna give this a 7. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. It took a lot longer to get to the boxing than I remember.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to get there.
I remember it like, I couldn't tell you how long it's been since I've seen it. This was like a TBS or HBO movie when I was like a young teenager.
Yeah, this reeks of a HBO daytime movie all day long. Absolutely.
There's not a lot of cussing in it, I don't think. Like it's something fairly safe they could play, but still on the adult channels. But their chemistry was really good. Bruce Dern's good. Some of the fixes and shit didn't make sense, but I didn't care. I like the one guy, they put like laxatives in his water bottle, so he's just like
farting.
He's farting and shitting his pants in the ring. And everybody makes the PU face and wipes, like, waves their hand in front of their nose because it's so bad. I like the fact that nobody gives a fuck that the fix is in both ways.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's just like James Woods and Bruce Dern both just like, oh.
Yeah,
it's a weird adherence to laws, but then like a complete disregard for laws at the exact same time.
In a normal movie, as soon as the Hispanic guy goes down, Bruce Dern just shoots James Woods, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I thought it was I liked the resolution for the last fight when Torres is just like, all right, hit me. He just lays down.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good callback because you don't actually know what their relationship was in prison. You just know that Heather Graham's brother got the shit kicked out of him by Torres. You don't know that Torres and James Woods were actually boys.
Yeah, they were in cahoots.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I found it pretty fun. It took longer to get where it needed to go, where I was really having fun with it, but once it got there, and Oliver Platt is great. Like, this is the perfect type of role for him. Like the fast talking, like con man or like hustler. This is like exactly what he was born to play. And James Woods,
I was born to play, baby.
James Woods was perfect because he's a skeezy, gross man himself. So he's perfect as a con man. So it's a 7 from Middle River. TJ.
It's a 5 for me, dog. I didn't really care for the movie, but I also I didn't hate it. It didn't really facilitate any strong emotion for me. I don't think it's bad, but at the same time, I wasn't really compelled by it. But I think all the acting is good. I think everybody's mentioned that. I think Oliver Platt's really good. That scene where he's like hustling everybody in the bar. That's like the best scene in the whole movie, in my opinion. Because he's funny, he delivers his lines funny because he's like drinking the beer and like he looks blasted, and I don't know. I enjoyed that part of the movie, but like other than that, like it just kind of happened. Like I didn't think the boxing was particularly good. Tonally, it's kind of weird because I think this movie is listed as a comedy, but like it's not particularly funny.
Well, they play it up like a comedy a lot of like a lot of like.
I like this. I like the scene Alec talked about with all the farting because I'm like a 6-year-old, and that like canned fart sound that they use all the time made me laugh. But yeah, overall, like this is just a movie that's just kind of there. It's not something I'm gonna remember. I don't really have any strong feelings about it. Like it's not bad. It's not bad to give it like a below 5. Like I can't give it like a 1 or a 2 because it's competently made, and I wasn't bored. I was just kind of like, yeah, it's a movie. So yeah, it's like a 5. It's just something I'm not going to really remember. I'm 5 like teetering on a 6 because I mean, if you have to tip it to one side of the 5 scale or the other, it's definitely better than a 4. But I'm going to say 5. It's 5 for me, dog. Louis Gossett Jr. is good in it, but again, like everybody's kind of good in it. It's just kind of there. I don't know. It's like popcorn. You eat it and it's gone and it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, Gogs.
4. Just keeping up. It's all 4s for Louis Gossett Jr. this month. This movie is just like, I don't know. Maybe it's my hatred of James Woods tainting it. Maybe it's the fact that the movie didn't make any fucking sense. Maybe it's just because it's a total nightmare.
Sense.
No, it didn't.
It made sense.
Nah, it didn't. Doesn't make a lick of sense. You have a Schrodinger's cat like law book where it's a rule and it's not a rule at the same time. You've got
Just like real rules.
Yeah, I maybe if this is some sort of like overarching like commentary on the rule of law, then okay, well, that's an interesting concept. But I think it's just a poorly written film, and the boxing's not great in it. And I feel bad for Louis Gossett Jr. because I want him to get a win. I really do. And there's so many things Sean brought up earlier. There's so many things introduced and never. Like the guys he's smuggling out of prison, to what end and why? What is any of this about? What are we doing here? Why? And then at the end, I guess he's now the mayor. Like, what's the follow up? Like, what's day 2? So, yeah, I don't know. I wanted it to be what I expected it to be just based on the poster and based on, I thought it was going to be like the Great White Hype. Like, I thought it was going to be like this kind of fun boxing romp with like some silliness, but like between the fact you jump from scenes where it's like they're joking and like having silly times to like kind of like heart-wrenching like see like the scene where James Woods throws in the towel only to have Louis Gossett Jr. throw it back out.
Well,
like
James Woods is a better corner man than Rocky Balboa.
I don't disagree, but like, and also if you throw in the towel for your corner, can the boxer throw it back out? I guess this is another one of these rules things, but like that's like sort of like a dark, like sort of, oh my god, is he gonna die in the ring moment? And then it's like, it's buttoned by fart jokes and like a dude getting like one shot after like flamencoing into the ring with a cigar. Like this place is all over the board, and I didn't care for it. So there we have it, Sean.
It's a 6. I can't really knock it for the boxing being terrible because I don't think boxing was good in any movie until The Fighter. It was like the first one where the boxing itself was actually like palatable. The movie, like, I love it, not for a reason that's on purpose, but it's like so unwieldy. It's like when you're moving and it's like the last box you have and you try and fit like every game console and like a pillow and part of like
a great analogy.
You know what I mean? It's just a bunch of shit that they're trying to carry around.
I got a masking tape and a spatula and like a copy of Iron Man in here. What is going on?
The box is like falling apart and you're like running, trying to hold the bottom of it just to get
3 watch batteries. Yeah,
and it's like, well, fucking, it'll make it all the way down there. I'll deal with this when we stop. But like fucking Louis Gossett, Honey Roy Palmer, not only are both of his hands certainly broken after fighting 10 men, because it's not like he knocks all of them out with one punch, you know what I mean?
Right.
He's got like horrific CTE. I don't know what's going on with his wife, who, by the way, was his real wife at the time, so that's probably why she's so awkward and bad in the 3 lines that she has. Like the whole, like, this is in this county and like this is in that county. Like from living down here now, like I all those scenes where it's like, oh, that's Big Joe Johnson. He runs the such and such racket. That's how the South really is. I had no idea. It's like these fucking families that have been around forever. Like, that's fun, I guess. Heather Graham with her fucking Dorian Gray face. Like, I don't know that fucked me up bad. I thought she was like 15 in this movie, but James Woods is like, Louis Gossett Jr. is good in this movie. He's been good in every movie we watch. It's just the movies themselves have been like,
it's never Louis Gossett Jr.'s fault.
Yeah. It's just like a very like late 80s, early 90s clunky as shit. Like, I don't know what we're doing. And then like it turns into Fruitvale Station for 10 minutes and goes back to its silly boxing comedy. And yeah, it's fuck. And then it has a legit the end, like a Looney Tunes, like the end. But it wasn't like unwatchable, like in the way that like Iron Eagle or something was. Like, it's just, it's so fast, like with everything that's going on, like all these moving parts, but like none of them fit. Like, I don't know, like it's not uninteresting. It's bad. Like, I don't want to make it sound like it's a good movie, but it's like, it's bad in a fun way, I guess. But not even like that bad in a fun way where you can just sit there and goof on it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It's too competent to be bad.
Yeah,
it's not like bad.
Yeah.
It's well made and well acted. It's just
hard N in there, like, oh, did they think I didn't get it already? Like, I knew what was going on, but okay, like, let's throw that in there.
When that dropped, I was like, oh, like I kind of felt like there'd be some of that before then, but it's just like, oh, okay.
There's a lot of implied that.
Well, yeah, like Sean said, Bruce Dern is very liberal with boy, but it's kind of like a Southern affect because he calls everybody boy, but still, like, I don't know, that has certain weight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so next week is a grab bag. Does anybody have any suggestions off the top of their heads? I have one. I would throw into the pot the new next Netflix movie, the Gray Man.
I'm game.
I thought about suggesting that, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have. My only suggestion is the same thing I suggested last time we had a grab bag, but you picked Morbius instead. Was the legend of Baron Toa?
What is that? I don't even remember.
It's a New Zealand movie about a pro wrestler's son who his dad dies and gets his belt stolen, and he goes on like a rampage to get his dad's dead belt back.
I mean, that sounds good.
Also, there's a movie on Netflix right now that it's called RRR, and it's like a Hindi movie.
Oh, I was gonna wait.
It's like
I was
3 hours long.
Our Bollywood month and recommend that because people are crowing all about that.
It looks ridiculous, but it's like 3 hours long.
No, let's not watch that then. I don't care. Whatever. Sean, you got an idea? Something we want to throw into the pot?
No. I haven't been keeping up with movies very well, to be honest, like, because I kind of hate them now. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care.
I guess we just watch The Gray Man then, since two people want that.
We can watch that wrestling movie. That sounds fun.
I think it's on Prime.
What about that Tanahashi wrestling movie?
Oh, My Dad's a Heel. I don't know if I can find it, but I can look for it.
Oh, I do have a pick, I guess. I don't know if it's available, though. Is the Takashi Miike Yakuza movie, the one that's based on the video game?
Oh, yeah. It's called Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't know. Well, how are we going to decide this?
I'm good with whatever everybody else wants. I'm not, like, dying either way.
Let's do the rest. Let's do the wrestling movie. Alec, you have to text me the name of it so I remember to download it so I can find it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, and then if you can't find it, we can just tell me, and we'll default to The Gray Man because that's on Netflix.
Netflix, everybody will be able to get that. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, tune in next week. You'll figure out what we watched. And as always, depending on where you're listening, if you're listening to us on YouTube, like and subscribe, share it around. If you're listening to us on anything else, follow us on Spotify, please. You can find us through searching Movie the Podcast. You don't have to do Molehill Radio anymore. Gogs, you have anything to promote?
Not Diggstown.
Not Louis Gossett Jr.
I love him
Well,
though. God,
it might
I want
not.
to do
It might
something.
not be. It might not be Diggstown anymore. It might be Caneville.
Yeah, it's
Gabriel Kane
yeah.
owns it now.
It's Kane Sylvania or whatever.
All right, everybody, that's the show.
Hobston. Hobbiton.
Eat your own ass, and we'll see you next week, where we'll discuss Marvel Phase 7 or whatever the hell it is.
Oh yeah. Apparently, Phase 4 ends with Black Panther, which I barely feel like we're even into Phase 4. But whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The next, like, at least I'm excited for Fantastic Four, and the two Avengers movies sound interesting. The Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. That sounds kind of fun. So
Yeah, and they're coming out like
we'll
they're
see.
coming out like their release
The
dates
same
are, like,
year.
6 months apart.
Yeah. So that's fine.
I'm
We'll
sure
see how that
there'll
goes.
be an X-Men in there somewhere because they still have a bunch of dates where they didn't.
I was very surprised that X-Men wasn't in that listing.